All right, today we're jumping into a really critical topic in cybersecurity. It's all about moving past just finding the risks and getting into what you actually do about them. So, you've identified your risks. Now what? This is the exact question where so many organizations get completely stuck. I mean, you've done all the hard work, you've run the scans, you have this huge list of vulnerabilities, but that's really just the starting line. The real challenge is deciding what comes next. And I've always loved this quote from Peter Drucker because it just hits the nail on the head. Managing risk effectively isn't a passive thing. It's not about waiting around for something bad to happen. It's about being proactive and literally creating a more secure future for your company. Okay, let's really dig into this shift in thinking. The move from just knowing what could go wrong to actually doing something about it. This is where analysis becomes action. Because see, it's not enough to just understand the threats. The real power, the thing that truly makes a difference, comes from the strategic decisions we make. It's all about choosing how to respond in a way that lines up with your business goals and protects what really matters. So, how do we make those choices? How do you turn a long, kind of scary list of problems into a clear plan? Well, luckily, there's a fantastic framework to help us out. It breaks everything down into 4 main strategies for handling any risk. And here they are. Think of these as the 4 fundamental plays in your risk management playbook. You can avoid a risk, mitigate it, transfer it, or accept it. Let's break down what each of these really means. First up, avoidance. This one is pretty decisive. It's the rip the Band-Aid off move. You basically decide that a risk just isn't worth the headache, and you get rid of its source completely. So maybe you cancel a high-risk project, or you finally replace that ancient vulnerable system. You are essentially stepping out of the line of fire. Next up, and this is by far the most common one, is mitigation. This is the real workhorse of cybersecurity. Here, you're not getting rid of the risk, but you're facing it head-on. You're working to reduce its impact or the chance it'll even happen. This is where all your classic safeguards come in. Better firewalls, tighter access controls, more monitoring. You're beefing up your defenses so you can live with the risk more safely. Our third strategy is transfer. This is basically making a risk someone else's problem, or at least sharing the burden. The classic example is a cyber insurance policy. If something goes wrong, the insurance company helps shoulder the financial blow. Or maybe you outsource a high-risk function to a vendor that specializes in it. The risk is still out there, but you're not facing it alone. And finally, we have acceptance. Now, this has to be a conscious, deliberate business decision. It's not about ignoring a problem. It's about looking at a risk, weighing the cost to fix it versus its potential damage, and saying, you know what, we can live with this. But, and this is so important, accepted risks have to be monitored, because what's acceptable today might be a full-blown crisis tomorrow. Now, any of these strategies, especially mitigation, has to be built on a rock-solid foundation. You can't just buy a new tool and hope for the best. It's about getting the fundamentals right, and that really starts with 3 core pillars. Pillar 1 sounds simple, but it's everything. Know your assets. You absolutely cannot protect what you don't know you have. That means you need detailed, up-to-date lists of every piece of tech, every bit of software, and all your critical data, period. Pillar 2 is all about controlling access. Who can get into your systems, and what are they allowed to do when they get there? We manage this with the classic AAA framework. Authentication, to prove you are who you say you are, authorization, to give you the right permissions, and auditing, to keep track of what happened. This is the bedrock of good security. And the third pillar is really a mindset. Stay vigilant. I love this phrase because it reminds us that cybersecurity is never done. It is a constant, ongoing process. That means always monitoring your networks, patching holes as soon as they appear, and training your people to be your first and best line of defense. So, with those pillars as our foundation and the 4 strategies in our playbook, how does it all come together? How do you actually pick the right path for a specific risk? Well, your guiding light for every single one of these decisions is your organization's risk appetite. What's that? It's basically the amount of risk you're willing to accept in order to achieve your goals. It's the threshold that tells you whether a risk is just background noise or if it's a 5-alarm fire. Okay, let's use a real-world example to make this concrete. Imagine your company is using an old, outdated payment system. It's unsupported, it's buggy, and it's a ticking time bomb. This is a huge risk, flashing red on your dashboard. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because we can put some numbers to it. The potential fallout if that system fails is a whopping $1.5 million. But
Let's say a new, modern, secure system costs $625,000 to put in. By choosing the avoidance strategy, by making that investment, we just took that $1.5 million risk right off the table. Suddenly, the choice is pretty clear. And this shows the transformation perfectly. We go from a high-impact, high-likelihood risk staring us in the face to a much more manageable, low-impact, low-likelihood situation. This is the whole point of risk management. You are actively changing your risk profile for the better.
So the bottom line is, when you follow this process, you start to move your organization from being reactive and just risky to being proactive, intentional, and ultimately really resilient. Now, there's a key idea here called residual risk. Look, no matter what you do, you can never get risk down to zero. It's impossible. There will always be something left over. That's your residual risk. And the goal isn't to hit zero. The goal is to tackle the big threats until what's left, your residual risk, is at a level that you've consciously decided is acceptable, a level that fits inside your company's risk appetite. And I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. Don't see risk management as a flat circle you just go around and around on. Think of it as an upward spiral. Every single time you go through this process of assessing and treating risks, your organization gets stronger, smarter, and more secure. You're constantly leveling up. And that brings us to the final takeaway. The world is always changing. Threats evolve, business priorities shift. So that risk you decided was acceptable last year, it might be a ticking time bomb today. So I'll leave you with this question. Which of your organization's accepted risks is it time to take a second look at?